Akaso are no new players to the action camera market, the very impressive Brave 7 being a great example of the kind of high quality they can provide. And now they're targeting the vlogging market with their most recent camera, the impressively compact Akaso Keychain. Boasting some rather impressive specs for such a small device, the Akaso Keychain 4K vlog camera really is promising to deliver a hell of a lot in such a small and tidy package. And nicely presented within its packaging, small it is. Seriously small. At only 63mm on its longest side and weighing in at only 36 grams, this is probably one of the smallest cameras I've tested to date. Not an action camera as such, marketed as a vlog camera instead, although I can see it being used in a range of scenarios regardless, which we'll cover shortly. With a robust plastic construction, on the white gloss face we have the main lens. Very small but capable of capturing 4K video at 30 frames per second, or 20 megapixel images, at a decent 124-degree field of view, and yes, it includes electronic image stabilization too. That sounds quite impressive for such a small lens, but we'll see how it fares later. Around the lens we have 6 LED lights arranged in a ring, which acts as a small fill light. An interesting addition, although I'm not too confident on how positively it will affect video. Otherwise, there's not too much to see here. We have a small microphone pinhole just beside the lens, and 2 functional buttons just above, used as power and shutter buttons, alongside a flap on the opposite side which can be opened to reveal a small reset pinhole, a micro SD memory card slot for which you'll need to provide your own, and a USB-C port, used alongside the included cable to charge the internal battery, which provides around an hour of continuous usage, although can be used with an external power bank for even longer recording sessions. With the flap closed, the unit is IP56 water resistant, so the odd splash won't faze it, although I wouldn't dunk it underwater though. Also note the side flap opens a little too easy for my liking, which compromises that water resistance, so care needs to be taken while using in wet conditions. And that's all there is to it. It's quite a simple design, nothing special other than the small size. What does make it special though are the mounting options. You'll notice there are no mounting options on the unit itself, no threads or other ways to mount the device, and that's because the unit attaches itself to metal surfaces by the use of magnets that are built into the rear side of the camera. It's quite a strong magnet too and holds in place quite firm, no issues there at all. Although you do receive several options in the box too. These include an adhesive pad that can be stuck onto any flat surface, complete with a tether attachment point, which the camera attaches to, rather strongly too I may add. I mean, give this some serious vibration and yes, it'll come loose, but for general use it works really well. There's also a strap mount included in the box. Again, the camera attaches rather firm, now providing a clip for attaching to a head strap for instance. And finally, a desktop mount which provides the flexibility to move the camera into any orientation and position, thanks to the built-in ball joint mechanism just below, really making this a versatile little unit. The base includes a very strong adhesive pad for attaching to a surface and can even be removed completely, revealing a standard 1/4" 20 tripod thread for attaching to tripods or selfie poles. Again, with all 3 options we are still connecting via a magnet, albeit a strong magnet, but heavy vibration and you'll lose the camera. Although for general vlogging, which is what the camera is intended to be used for after all, it works really well. And if you didn't want to mount the unit, a silicone case is also included for attaching a neck strap, which isn't included in the box, but holds the camera really well and keeps it close and handy, ready to shoot during your adventures. Mounting aside, the camera is seriously easy to pick up and use too, with only 2 buttons on the entire device. Keep the top button pressed for 2 seconds and the camera vibrates and starts up pretty instantly too. But from here we simply tap on the blue button to cancel the wireless connection, and now we can use the camera standalone by tapping the blue button to start and stop capture. Bear in mind, although you may instinctively use the camera in this orientation, this will capture video in portrait mode. To capture video in standard landscape, you'll need to keep the camera in its landscape orientation too. Anyway, finally we can keep the shutter button pressed for 2 seconds to switch on the front-facing fill light should you need it. It's adequately bright and will of course consume more battery, but a nice little addition should you find you need to use it. Otherwise, when not in use, I'd recommend switching the camera off to save battery power whenever you can, by keeping the top button pressed for a few seconds. That aside, you really can't do anything more on the unit itself. You can't change any modes or settings or see any status information. For that, we need to connect to the accompanying Akaso Go app. Thankfully, the app is super easy to use too. Available on both Android and iOS platforms, initialize the wireless connection by tapping the power button once until the light illuminates, after which we can enter the smartphone wireless settings to connect to the hotspot it creates, before connecting to the camera via the app itself. Once connected, we receive a live feed of what the camera sees, be it in portrait or a larger landscape orientation, and there's very little latency here too. It's all quite instant, more so than other action cameras double the size. Anyway, from here we can toggle between video and photo mode, and in either mode we can see other capture options too. So in video we have loop, time-lapse and slow-mo, while over in photo mode we have the burst and time-lapse options too. Otherwise, we have a button to view captured footage as well as the general settings menu, which is rather basic, but allows us the ability to change capture settings for the current active mode. So in this case, video resolution, as well as switch image stabilization on, and other general settings allowing you the ability to set up the camera how you need it. Once set, the camera will remember the current active settings, so you no longer need to use the app unless you want to change modes or another setting, of course. All in all, the app works really well, no dropped connections and no other issues at all. And when it comes to performance, for such a small sensor, I was left rather impressed. Bear in mind, all these clips are taken at the camera's highest settings, so 4K 30 with image stabilization switched on, and then downscaled to 1080p and subject to standard YouTube compression too. But even so, it performs really well. The image is reasonably sharp, colors are quite accurate, and dynamic range is pretty decent. Stabilization is switched on in these clips, and although it does make a slight difference, it's certainly not a touch on GoPro's Hypersmooth. Far, far from it. But bearing in mind the unit's size and its low budget level price point, it's actually not too bad. Note that hand holding the device isn't really very comfortable because of the orientation though. I found using the included mounts much better in this regard. A hand grip would be ideal, but adds to the overall size and weight too. Of course, any vlogging camera needs to be able to capture good audio, and I'm afraid that's where the Akaso Keychain falls short. Audio captured is clear and usable, albeit with plenty of wind noise when moving, but I found with most clips I had to increase the gain in post while editing, and there was a ton of noise too. What you're hearing now is completely raw audio though, so you be the judge. You'll need plenty of good light with the small sensor though. When light levels drop, so does the quality. Quite drastically in some cases, so don't expect crisp shots during low light conditions. Far from it. Bear in mind there are several other shooting modes to play with as well, as long as you have your smartphone handy to switch between them of course. Too many to cover individually in this review, but all tested and work perfectly well. All in all, this is a really good attempt at a super small vlogging camera. Quality wasn't too bad, perfectly suitable for general social media use, although for a vlogging camera you need good audio capture, which is what let the unit down somewhat, especially considering there's no way to attach an external microphone of any kind. The main issue I have though is why does anyone need this in the first instance? I mean, it all works perfectly well and it's a nice compact package, but why would I use this when I have a smartphone that's capable of much higher quality and better audio capture, and what's more, it's always with me in my pocket. It kind of makes the Akaso Keychain, albeit small, a little redundant. On the other hand, if you want to mount a camera, be it to an object or even to yourself, or you may keep your smartphone in your bag and want quick and easy access to record at a moment's notice, then the Akaso Keychain is ideal. I'm sure there are many other reasons why one would want or need a small camera like this, depending upon how and what you wish to shoot, and best of all, at the sub $100 price point, it won't break the bank either.